Hey everyone, welcome to NFL video. This one we're going over the Thursday Night Football Showdown slate, the Chiefs versus the Broncos. Before we continue though, if you could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out and I really appreciate it. We're getting close to 3,000 subscribers, so I want to thank you guys for all the support recently. It's been awesome. And if for some reason, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at ChrisPennell16. And if you're interested in the spreadsheets I build every single week in my Slack chat, links in the description below for my Patreon. And I think that's enough plugging. Let's get right into it. So we're pretty much going to go down the list here. Then I'll just attempt to build a lineup at the end. I have not tried to build a lineup yet, so we'll just see how it goes. So let's start up top at Patrick Mahomes at 12,000. He's the most expensive guy on the slate, deservedly so. But if you've been playing Patrick Mahomes recently, you've probably been pretty disappointed because he has not been hitting value at that massive price tag he has every single week. He had 3 straight 30-point outings to start the season, but now for 3 straight weeks he's been in the 20 to 21 point range, which is not going to get it done at that price tag. And the Chiefs have also lost 2 straight games. And now we get a matchup versus a hot Denver defense that's strung together pretty good quality games recently. And now we're in Mile High, where it's always tough to play on the road for the opposing team. Denver's only allowing 10.4 points per game to quarterbacks this season, which is third best in the league. But they've also played Derek Carr, Gardner Minshew, and the Titans quarterback mess of Ryan Tannehill and Marcus Mariota. So maybe that's inflated their numbers a little bit. But even so, I'm not going to be fading Mahomes here, as he's more than likely going to be the highest scoring player on the slate, which warrants at the very least flex appeal. If you don't unload your bank account for the captain spot, I understand that, because he's going to hurt your lineup. He's not going to hurt your lineup, because I think Patrick Mahomes definitely has 30-point upside, and in the captain spot he's got 40-point upside. But it really hurts the rest of your lineup, and by that I mean you're not going to get as many consistent players as you'd want. So that's the only reason I would want to shy away from using Mahomes in the captain spot. But I definitely think he's in play there. And he's been elite this season too. It's not like he's been bad. He's leading the league in passing yards, has the highest yards per attempt, which is great for fantasy because that means he's going down the field. It's more opportunity for big plays. And he's got 14 touchdowns compared to only 1 interception this season. So I really see no reason to fade Mahomes here. And at the very least, I think you got to plug him into your flex spot, because I would not feel comfortable not having any Mahomes exposure tomorrow, because it's Patrick Mahomes, man. The guy's the best quarterback in the league. Tyreek Hill is number 1 wide receiver, 11,200. First week back from injury last week, he played 50% of the snaps, but still had 10 targets and came down with 5 of them for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. So that's a pretty good fantasy day. He ended up getting 25 Draftkings points. And also, in the smallest sample size in the world, as he's only played like 1.5 games, he's averaging the most fantasy points per route ran this season. So, just a little fun stat I threw in there. It doesn't really mean much, but, Tyreek Hill's a big play guy, so it does make sense in the long haul. I gotta say, though, he's going to see a good amount of Denver's Chris Harris Jr., who is a very good cornerback, and Tyreek Hill has historically struggled versus Denver in his career. In his 5 career games versus Denver, he's had 52 yards, 0 yards, 38 yards, 54 yards, and 70 yards, with just 1 touchdown in the receiving portion, and then 2 rushing touchdowns, which I thought that was a little weird. Denver is also been pretty stout versus wide receivers this season, allowing only 25.3 points per game to receivers, which is the fewest allowed in the entire league. So they've been the number 1 defense to receivers this season in terms of fantasy points given up. I'm not saying to fade the guy, considering his heavy targets and slate-breaking upside with his elite speed, but just know the matchup isn't great. He's really tough to fit in your lineups, so I understand if you don't want to have too much exposure to him. Now, if you're putting multiple lineups, yeah, you want Tyreek Hill exposure because, it's Tyreek Hill. The dude can go for 3 touchdowns and 200 yards in the blink of an eye off of a couple plays. But if I'm building one lineup, I'm not sure how easy it's going to be able to fit him in unless I fade someone like Travis KELCE, which I honestly don't really want to fade Travis KELCE. So let's talk about him now. So he's at 9,800, and I actually think this is a pretty good price. I like him here a lot, and I think we may get his first big game of the season this week, well, at least since week 2 when he had 26 fantasy points. Other than that, he hasn't really had a big explosion game, but he's been consistently solid at least. And, but yeah, for what his price is, he hasn't really been hitting value, but he's still leading all tight ends in most categories. Not leading all the tight ends, but he's still near the top. He's got 515 air yards this season, which actually does lead all tight ends. He's got a 21% target share and a 22% market share of the air yards this season, but he only has 1 touchdown to show for it. So I don't know about you guys, but this sounds like he's due for some positive touchdown regression in my opinion. I think this could be the game to lean on KELCE, especially if Hill is struggling. I'm not saying he's going to struggle, but there's the potential for that for how good Denver's been versus receivers this season and his history versus Denver. Denver's only allowing 10.4 points per game to the tight end position this season, which is a little bit above average, but it's more middle of the road, and they haven't really played any great tight ends so far this season. The only decently good tight end they played this season is Darren Waller, which was week 1, and he went 7 for 70, which is just a fine fantasy day. That's at 14 DraftKings points. So, Travis Kelce is obviously more talented than Darren Waller. He's on a much better offense. He's got the best quarterback in the league throwing it to him. So I think Kelce could be in for a pretty big night. And honestly, he's got a pretty nice price tag at 9,800, and I think he's a candidate for the captain spot as well. Hopefully his recent game log would throw some people off. I'm not saying his game log's terrible by any means. He's been fine. But for Travis Kelce, we want those big games, and he only has 1 touchdown. So maybe that shies people a little bit away from Travis Kelce. But he doesn't have the absolute ceiling of Tyreek Hill. But I think he's got a safer floor here, and he's got upside as well. I mean, Travis Kelce versus Oakland last season, he had a 3-touchdown game and over 100 yards. So, I mean, I guess he's got Tyreek Hill upside, but he just doesn't have, 90-yard touchdown upside most of the time. I know he had a long touchdown versus, I believe, Denver, actually, a couple of seasons ago, but I like Travis Kelce is what I'm trying to say here. So I like Travis Kelce at that price tag. Philip Lindsay, 8,800 versus the Kansas City run defense, which we know has not been very good. This is a pretty good matchup. They're giving up 29.1 points per game to running backs this season. They're 30th DVOA versus the run. Now, Lindsay is playing less snaps than his teammate Royce Freeman, but he's also getting more carries. Lindsay's snap percentage the last few weeks are as follows: 47%, 46%, and 45%, compared to Royce Freeman's 61%, 54%, and 62%. Now, a lot of that has to do with Freeman's strong blocking capabilities as they, use him for pass protection. And contrary to what you would think, Lindsay is the main guy on the goal line, while Freeman is being used in the passing game. So it's the exact opposite of what you would think of how they would be used, considering, Lindsay's a small guy and Freeman's a bigger guy. So, but that's how it is. This is a near even split, so Lindsay does feel a bit overpriced, but I like his chances to score, touchdown better than Freeman's. But kind of feels like how Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams was. In that video, I said I really don't want to play Aaron Jones because, they're going to get a near even split. And he's what was he, $5,000 more expensive than Jamal Williams. And I faded Aaron Jones, and he was 75%. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble. But then he dropped that touchdown, got that fumble, and then Jamal Williams ended up balling out. So it ended up working out. I'm not saying Philip Lindsay is going to pull an Aaron Jones, but, that price tag for an even split, when you got the cheaper running back, I could see wanting to go that way. But it's not like Philip Lindsay's 11,000 like Aaron Jones was. So I think he's a fine play, but again, not someone I'm super excited about, but he's fine. Joe Flacco at 8,000. So let's just get this out of the way. Flacco is not good, and this isn't a high pass volume offense. He's only averaging 32 pass attempts per game, and that's including a 50 pass attempt week versus Chicago. So that's obviously an outlier. As you can see, most of the other games are in the 20s and 30s. And for Chicago, he had 50 passing attempts. I don't see that happening again. And he also has one touchdown or less in 5 of 6 games this season, but being this cheap as a QB on a showdown slate automatically puts him in play for one of our top flex spots, as he has a decent chance of hitting value at this price in this matchup, as KC is giving up over 20 points per game to quarterbacks this season. So if I had to pick between Joe Flacco or someone like Philip Lindsay, just give me Joe Flacco, and he's also less expensive, so don't mind him because we always like quarterbacks and showdown slates, and it's a beatable secondary for KC. I know they've been better versus the pass this season, but that's just because they're so bad versus the run, so teams tend to run on them. And then we got Courtland Sutton at 7,600, and he's actually been pretty solid this season. He scored double-digit points in every single game this season, besides week 2 versus Chicago. I mean, he has a pretty good game log. 22 points versus Oakland, 8 points versus Chicago, which isn't terrible. 13 points versus Green Bay, 24 versus Jacksonville, 19 versus the Chargers, 11 versus Tennessee. I mean, these aren't great matchups, and he's been doing just fine. And now we get a pretty decent matchup versus Kansas City. He's got a 40% share of the team's air yards this season, which is 5th in the league, only behind McLaurin, Diggs, Michael Thomas, and 1 week of Deshaun Jackson. Whoops, I accidentally got off Courtland Sutton. And where am I at? Yeah, he has a 23% target share, a 63% weighted opportunity share, and these numbers are all near league high, so he's been great in terms of getting opportunity, and he's seen 7 targets in each game this season, and he's taken advantage of his opportunities so far. And even though KC has been tough on receivers this season, they're only allowing 30 points per game to receivers, but I have to believe most of that has to do with how poor they are versus the run game this season, because their secondary is not that great, and I do like him at this price versus the beatable secondary, so don't mind getting me some Courtland Sutton in my lineups for sure. Sammy Watkins is going to be out. Demarcus Robinson comes in at 6,800. So he's going to see a bump of Sammy Watkins out, obviously, but he does get a downgrade with Tyreek Hill back. But he's still playing 86% of the snaps like last week, which was obviously encouraging. He's pretty much a full-time player, but he was held catchless, but he did see 4 targets, so, he's got a role in this offense still, and he's the 3rd receiving option on this team, which doesn't sound great, but, it's fine when Mahomes is your quarterback, and this Kansas City offense is obviously great, so I'm not too excited about playing Demarcus Robinson, and like I said, the Broncos are very good versus the wide receiver position this season, but if they sell out to stop Tyreek Hill, it could give Robinson softer coverage, which would, get him open, and, he's got upside as well. We've seen him produce in games this season so far, so don't mind taking a shot at Demarcus Robinson, but he's definitely not a core play for me. Emmanuel actually we're at Damien Williams, 6,600. So we got a mess in this backfield pretty much. We got a 3-headed committee, and if Damien didn't score last week, we'd be looking at a really ugly score in the box scores. He only had 1 carry for 6 yards, and he got 1 catch on his lone target, which happened to go for 14 yards and a touchdown. Other than that, you're looking like at a 1 or 2 point game, which is absolutely awful. He also only played 38% of the snaps compared to Shady's 50% share of the snaps. The Broncos' run defense is beatable, but they did very well versus the Chargers and the Titans in that department recently. So I got to say, I'm not really too excited about any of these running backs, but one of them will likely have a decent game because of just the nature of this offense. Running backs tend to produce on this offense, but I got to say, I'd be lying if I could tell you which one's going to produce. It's really going to come down to whoever gets into the end zone, as I really don't see any of them picking up huge points on the ground in terms of yards. But still, Denver's allowing 26 points per game to the running back position this season, so there is opportunity, but it's just a mess, and I'm not sure who it's going to be. So if I'm playing one lineup, I'm probably not going to have any Kansas City running backs. I'm probably just going to be in that passing game. But again, if you're running multiple lineups in tournaments, large field tournaments, I'd probably get exposure to some of them. Now, I do prefer Shady McCoy, and I'll get into him soon over Damien Williams. But let's talk about Emmanuel Sanders first at 6,400. So Manny Sanders, he's supposed to be good to go for this game with the knee issue, but man, he has really sucked the last 2 weeks, and he's been pretty hit or miss this season. He's got games of 19, 28, and 18. Then he's got games of 1.9, 1 point, and then 3 points. I played him in that 3-point outing, so that sucked. So I guess I got a sour taste in my mouth for Manny Sanders right now, but I still think he's a good receiver, and he's going up against a beatable secondary, and he's too talented not to be a factor in this game. So I don't mind having some exposure to him, as the Broncos should have to throw to stay alive in this game if the KC offense does its job and gets an early lead. I don't think the Chiefs are going to absolutely blow them out. They're only 3-point favorites in Vegas right now, so this game is supposed to be pretty close, so we'll see how it goes. But chances are the Broncos are going to be trailing in this game. They're going to have to throw the ball, so I don't love Manny Sanders, but I think he's fine at 6,400. I think he's a pretty good value, and he's, $1,200 cheaper than Courtland Sutton, so I think that's fine. And then LeSean McCoy at 6,200. So I pretty much already went over the running back position for the Kansas City Chiefs. I already talked about the matchup, so I'm going to keep this one shorter. I do prefer him over Damien Williams. He was the lead running back of the Chiefs last week in terms of usage and snap count. He saw 50% of the snaps compared to Damien's 38%, and then the other Williams had 12%. He also had touched them. He had 10 touches. Damien Williams had 2, and then the other one had 1. If I had to pick one, I'm going to roll with Shady, and I do like that he's cheaper than Damien Williams, and I expect McCoy to be more popular than Damien Williams. So if I had to pick one running back from the Chiefs, it's going to be Shady McCoy. Royce Freeman at 6,000. I actually like Royce Freeman quite a bit at 6K this week. So again, I kind of went over this running back situation when I talked about Lindsay, but he's on the field more, so I do like that. And he's surprisingly the pass catching back, which helps give us a floor because we're in PPR scoring. Now, he's yet to score this season, but he's honestly been fine, and he's 2.8K cheaper than Lindsay, which I think makes him an excellent value play. And myself, I think I'd want more exposure to Freeman than I would Lindsay, because how I said for Monday's showdown slate, I'd rather play Williams than Aaron Jones, and it ended up working out quite well. I don't think it's going to be Philip Lindsay has a pretty good chance of outscoring Royce Freeman, but I don't think it's going to be anything drastic to where he's an absolute smash play and Royce Freeman's left in the dust. I think they'll be pretty close, and he's a lot cheaper, so I think Freeman's going to end up being the better value, considering this is a pretty even split. So it doesn't make too much sense for me to want to pay all the way up for Philip Lindsay when Royce Freeman's going to get about equal amount of work, and honestly, he's not that bad either. So, and like I said, he's involved in the passing game. He has 5 targets last week, 2 targets the week before, 6 targets, 5 targets, 7 targets, 1 target. So I think Royce Freeman's just fine. Then we got McCole Hardman at 5,800, starting to get into the cheaper guys, but he's going to be the fourth fiddle on this passing attack, which, it could be worse situation. It's not too bad being Mahomes' 4th target, but because this is an elite passing offense, but he obviously gets a downgrade with Hill back, as he was basically Tyreek Hill light with his speed, basically playing the Tyreek Hill role. He still played 55% of the snaps last week, but I do imagine Hill gets more reps this week because, he only played about 50% of the snaps last week, which obviously that's going to cut right into Hardman's snap count. He wasn't awful last week, though. He saw 4 targets, and he caught all 4 of them for 45 yards. I imagine he's going to be in about the 30 to 50% range for snaps this week, and if you want to take a shot on him, I think it's okay, but I wouldn't expect much unless he hits a big one, which, he definitely can do. He's got a ton of speed, and if the defense is worrying about Tyreek Hill, yeah, I could definitely see Mecole Hardman catching a bomb, but again, that's something I'm banking on. Obviously, you can't play these quarterbacks. Deshaun Hamilton comes in at 4,800. Now, he's not the most exciting play, but we got to talk about him. He's played over 50% of the snaps each week this season. Production hasn't exactly been great, but week 1 he had 4 targets, then 6 in week 2, then 0 in week 3, then 5 in week 4, 0 targets again in week 5, then the 2 the last game. He'll be on the field, and most likely you'll get a handful of targets or less, but I wouldn't expect anything big from a yardage standpoint, so you most likely have to get a touchdown for him to be anything exciting on a showdown slate, because I don't think he's going to be a slate breaker. Not going to do anything really down the field much, so I don't love him, but, you got to hope he gets into the end zone pretty much if you play Deshaun Hamilton. Chiefs defense, I don't really love any defense in this game. I don't think the Broncos are going to, come out and just, scorch the earth and score 30 points. So I guess they're in play, but they are missing some pieces on defense, which hurts them. So no love with the Chiefs defense, but if you want to get some exposure to them, I don't mind it. The kickers are what they are. I mean, if they hit their field goals, they'll hit value like Matt Prater did. Butker's on the better offense, so I imagine he's going to be one of the more popular plays on this slate, considering his price and its cheap Chiefs exposure. McManus, though, I could see the Broncos drive stalling out, leading to a good amount of field goals, which is exactly what I said about Matt Prater on Monday, and you see how well that worked out. So I could see McManus outscoring Butker. I think Butker's got a better chance of outscoring McManus just because of the Chiefs probably going to put up more points, and they're going to be, they'll be in field goal range more. But McManus, I could see him hitting a couple long field goals, and I could just see them Broncos racking up field goals unless they fall behind too much and they start going for it on 4th down. But I think both are fine. But if I had to pick one, obviously give me Butker. Noah Fant, 3,400. I actually don't mind him at all this week. I think he's one of the better value plays on the slate because defending guys like KELCE and MAHOMES, we got to find some value. So I think a logical choice would be Fant here at 3,400. KC has struggled with tight ends for a while now, and they're 5th worst in the league versus them this season in terms of giving up points, allowing 15.8 points per game to tight ends this year. Now, he's not some smash play week in and week out. He's only got a 10% target share on this offense, on a Joe Flacco-led offense, even so. But he's on the field, seeing no less than 65% of the snaps each week this season. And he's seen at least 3 targets in 5 out of the 6 games this year. So I think he's fine. I mean, if he gets a touchdown, you're probably going to be pretty happy at 3,400. It's a beatable matchup. I mean, Noah Fant's got some talent, so I don't hate him. If you need some salary savings, a Broncos defense, going to have to pass on them versus the Chiefs, considering all the Chiefs players. Now, Byron Pringle. Now, he went off when he was $200 on the showdown slate. So I think that's going to give him some ownership just because of what he did last showdown when he was on a showdown slate. But he is interesting. He was still involved last week, even with Hill back. And with Sammy Watkins out, he's going to be back on the field. He saw 59% of the snaps last week, and he got 3 targets and caught 2 of them. At this price, I don't mind him, and he also has a fun name. So if he starts going off, we can start tweeting our Pringle jokes and puns if he hits. So I mean, I'm not too excited about playing Byron Pringle, but if you fit your lineup as a cheap flyer, you could do worse. So don't mind myself some Pringles. No interest in the other Williams. Thompson, no. Heuerman, I mean, maybe he's somewhat involved in the offense. He's more of a blocker. He had 3 targets week 5, 2 targets week 3, 5 targets week 2. Other than that, he's had some 0-point games, though, so there is risk there. Maybe Fant gets hurt and Heuerman gets run, but, I mean, I can't really bank on some Jeff Heuerman. No interest in the fullbacks here. Devontae Booker, no. So I think that's going to be it. We can try to attempt to build a lineup here. Now, I've not tried to build a lineup yet, so I don't know how this will look. So let's first roll with Patrick Mahomes captain spot. So we'll see how he is. I'm not sure how easy it is to make a lineup because he's 8,000 in the captain spot, which is a ton. So we'll see. I like Travis Kelce. I like Joe Flacco. I like Courtland Sutton. That's going to leave us 3,300 left. We're getting a little bit down to the bottom of the barrel here, so I'm going to have to scroll down a little bit. Let's see if we can get Butker in. That leaves us 2,800, and I believe Pringle's 20. Yep, so we can get Pringle in. So actually, I don't mind this kind of a lineup. We got Patrick Mahomes in the captain spot, Travis Kelce, Joe Flacco. I like getting both quarterbacks in there. Courtland Sutton, Harrison Butker, and Byron Pringle. You could also use McManus as well if you just want to switch up your kickers. Now, let's see if we can go another way. So let's say we want to use Travis KELCE in the captain spot. And then we got to use MAHOMES in the flex. Then I want Joe FLACCO. So it's going to be kind of the same core group of guys. Courtland Sutton. We'll throw in Butker. That leaves us 3,900. And we could go someone like Fant. Or we could run a double kicker with McManus. I believe double kicker was the winning lineup in last Monday night showdown slate. So, you know, it'd be cool. It could be worth a shot. I mean, I'm just playing around here. I've not really put much thought into building lineups yet. I mean, you could captain Tyreek Hill. He's pretty expensive, but I feel like you're going to have to get some exposure to him. So let's see if we go Patrick Mahomes. I probably won't be able to fit Travis KELCE in. So we're going to dip down to Joe FLACCO. We can go Manny Sanders because I'm probably not going to be able to fit Sutton in too well. We can fit in Butker. That leaves us 3,000 left. We can throw Pringle back in because I really want to play the Broncos defense. So you can go something like that too. I mean, I don't love not having Travis KELCE. So, but again, I'm just playing around. So not sure how it's going to look yet. Maybe we can throw in Royce Freeman. He's the pass catching back. That gives us 600 left. It's 4,400. I don't know. I'm just playing around right now. So no Fant. Yeah, it's not bad either. Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Joe FLACCO, Royce Freeman, Harrison Butker. No Fant, something like that. I'm just playing around now, so just to give you guys a general idea of what I'm thinking. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If it was helpful, never leave a like. And if it wasn't, I mean, I guess you could leave a dislike, but I mean, it hurts my feelings a little bit, but I'll get over it. But anyway, I'm going to leave you guys with that. Follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. Hit me up hit the link in the description below if you're interested in my spreadsheets every single week that I build every single week. And it's going to be it. So see you guys in the next video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. I won't yell at you. And yeah, I'll see you.